welcome back to my Explain series. If you are new here, I highly recommend you to watch part 1, 2 and 3 of this series. Those 3 videos will give you a good overview of the attacks against MONSTA X in the past month. In the next 2 videos, I want to talk about all the different future predictions that fans are asking about. Since many of you expressed their wish to talk about possibilities and probabilities to bring WONHO back, this will also be a major part of these 2 videos. With that being said, let's start part 4. Being a celebrity in the public eye will always bring the risk for rumors to be spread about you. What was interesting about MONSTA X's situation was the amount of accusations that appeared in a suspiciously short time. If you take the circumstances into account that led to WONHO's departure, you will sooner or later have the reasonable suspicion of this all to be a planned attack. Being the 2 main accusers, we should especially have an eye on Yangtown and Han So-hee to answer this question. Both of them deleted controversial posts from their timelines on Instagram and didn't post any new rumors. Yangtown even deleted her Instagram recently. I don't know what is going on behind closed doors, but to me it all seems like they either already had a talk regarding legal matters with Starship's representatives, or they are going to. Because there is no other reason on why they would suddenly stop this behavior. In my opinion, it even looked like they were just starting with the accusations. So it's very likely that Starship either paid them off a big amount of money to sign a NDA, or that they filed a legal case against both of them and now the 2 are scared of the consequences. Either way, it seems like they both are too busy with themselves to continue this behavior. I am not too interested in analyzing their behavior from a psychological perspective. I mean, I don't know them, and I'm not here to diagnose other people from the other side of the globe. But even to someone who is not a psychologist, it is very clear that both of them seriously need to reflect on their behavior. And especially Han So-hee should seek professional help as soon as possible. Or else I don't predict any positive outcome in the near future for her being. So to answer the first question, no, I doubt that there might be more allegations coming towards MONSTA X, at least from those 2. There are other points that underline my theory here, because recently I was wondering what the infamous tabloid Dispatch is up to. And interestingly, they used to post a lot about MONSTA X back then. They even had the audacity to talk about WONHO on his last public appearance. This was the time when they already had interviewed Yangtown 2 times and knew what they would be posting on the next day. And if you really want to believe that this is just an unimportant reporter and might not know about the interview with Yangtown, let me remind you that Dispatch is made of a very small group of around 15 employees. They actually used to be friends and co-workers at Seoul Sports, a culture and tabloid magazine about mostly athletes or somewhat athletic idols. If you read about Dispatch, you will find out how small their bureaus are. There is no way that the reporter on the field didn't know about the interview with Yangtown. This just shows how low their work morals are. And since then they had multiple occasions to talk about MONSTA X, but they didn't. If you go to their website or to their Instagram, you will see for yourself how they are avoiding to mention MONSTA X. This is no coincidence. This is a strategic way of avoiding a major shitstorm. It is also possible that Starship either paid them off or sued them to stop reporting on MONSTA X. Because in the other example, when another tabloid published the fake naked pictures of Shonu, Starship publicly claimed to have sued all the people involved. So it is possible that other tabloids, like for example Dispatch, are not risking a lawsuit now. Seeing both Yangtown and Han So-hee having to deal with their own problems and seeing Starship finally taking legal actions against people spreading rumors, I don't think anyone would be interested in more spreading rumors, at least not at the moment. So I conclude that the likelihood for new rumors is very small. This is a question that spawned massive backlash towards Starship, and they are yet to respond to the million of fan questions demanding a concrete answer. To analyze the possibilities, I wanted to make a list to balance out what spoke in favor and what against it. Here are the main points on if Starship terminated WONHO's exclusive contract. Firstly, there are news reports on it that they indeed terminated the contract. The articles claim that Starship released an official statement to the press and gave detailed information on when and why the contract was terminated. Secondly, to take account of the huge cultural impact regarding scandals like weed smoking in Korea, it actually makes sense for them to have some sort of company policy or specific clauses in the contract that justifies the immediate termination of a contract in such legal cases. From an entrepreneur's point of view, such clauses would actually be really smart. Thirdly, if WONHO lied to the company about his legal issues, then the trust between him and the company is broken and cannot be restored. I am not talking about only Starship's point of view here, no. Because just imagine if this would be the case, then how could WONHO keep working there knowing he lied to them and they found out? So to end the working relationship would be better for both parties. Fourthly, WONHO was edited out of all the official websites, merchandise and advertisement. Also, a lot of TV stations blurred him out. All of those 4 points are valid to a certain degree, and if there were no other details on this matter, I would completely believe that Starship indeed took such actions. But, and here come some of my doubts on this that I want to share with you. Firstly, the termination of the contract was stated in this Naver article. In the beginning, it was quoted a lot and many blogs on Naver reported on it. But many of them gradually deleted their report, leaving fans confused. Now, I don't know how many of you work in the academic field or are aware of citation criteria, on empirical standards, on reliable sources. Because in the cultural field that I used to do research on, it was very well known to not use Naver as a reliable source for your academic work. The exceptions were specific sites like Naver Law or Naver Business, where actual journalists work on those articles. But other than that, most sites you visit on Naver will not be labeled as credible. And this is not my personal opinion, no. If you are interested in this, you can simply search for credibility or quality standards on Korean websites and educate yourself on this matter. What I also found very odd about all of this is the fact that since then, some news outlets actually contacted Starship to get a comment on this, and fans got together on big projects asking Starship for a clear public statement. But Starship isn't reacting at all. If Starship already gave an official press release, then their PR department already showed the interest or intention to talk publicly about this matter. So why would they now suddenly refuse to give an official statement when thousands are asking about it? This is not logical in itself. Also, when you go back a little into Starship's history, you will always find an official public statement when an artist was leaving the company, or even when the contract was terminated due to huge legal reasons. So for them to not release an official statement on this single time, this seems way out of protocol. Secondly, MONSTA X owns stocks in KakaoM. You know, the enterprise holding Starship Entertainment. It was reported that the 7 members all put about $900,000 together and bought 7,906 shares. They voted for Kion to be their representative in shareholder meetings. So from a business perspective, MONSTA X have definitely a saying themselves in the agency's activities. There is zero chance that they agreed to all of this. Thirdly, MONSTA X is an international group. This means they have to get work visas for all the members. The national police will make sure to check your criminal record before they let you enter their country. MONSTA X worked in some of the strictest countries around the globe. The chances for Starship to not have known about his criminal record is nearly impossible. Yes, he could have lied to some managers or maybe even to his members about his criminal records and the detention center and whatnot. But we are talking about legal forces here that don't care about your celebrity status. They will check you independently, and each country has its own safety standards. Are you trying to tell me all of those different police officers somehow made up a collusion to hide secrets from an entertainment company? Fourthly, Starship is acting carelessly with the editing of WONHO. The way he or his name is photoshopped or blurred out of something is very sloppy. A lot of you talked about how Starship doesn't want to waste too much time or money into the editing, but when you think about it from a legal point, then why would they risk a lawsuit against them by doing that? It would cost much more time and money in the end. We are not talking about some amateurs here. This is a professional business. This is their jobs. This is what the staff is doing for a living, and they are really good at it. To act this carelessly only indicates that WONHO's editing is not important for the big picture. Maybe they know something that we don't. Fifthly, not all media blurred WONHO out. Actually, it is only the smallest percentage that are cutting him out or editing him out. Meanwhile, the Tutak.com account keeps posting imagery that indicates WONHO's comeback. Their American label and management is engaging with fans and liking or retweeting posts about all 7 members. The next music album will include WONHO's voice in all songs. The latest music video showed him as an animated figure. Their former manager Hongshik, who knows them the best, gave a few hints that WONHO is fine. The members themselves keep encouraging fans to continue the support for WONHO, and official Starship accounts are using pictures of all 7 members for their next audition. Now, if I was an important manager at Starship Entertainment and I would have lost all my trust in this specific artist and therefore completely stopped working with him, then why would I allow my employees to engage in such ways? Because at this point, Starship is suspiciously silent. I mean, I get the point of the cultural impact of the strategy to keep silent and to keep him out of MONSTA X. And if you watch video 1, you will understand this too. But at this moment, Starship's image in the public eye is damaged. It is basically gone. Fans all over the world are tired, and the anger towards Starship is rising day by day. There is no reason for them to stay silent, but they keep this up. Do you have a stereotype in your country that you are all very much aware of? For example, here in Germany, we have the stereotype of Germans being precisely on time. A lot of my friends will have panic and anxiety if they don't show up 10 minutes too early to an appointment. This is a stereotype that seems to be true if you ask a lot of Germans. Now, the thing with Koreans is that they are extremely obsessed with their image. Many small talk topics revolve around the issue on having a good reputation, on having a clean image in the public eye. For example, when someone wants to take a selfie, they will think ahead of the image or concept they want to portray. Like, should this be a cute concept or a sexy concept? Could this hurt my image in the public eye? This goes the same for Korean enterprises. The PR departments are always working hard for the company to show a good face, to give a good image. So most of the times they will actually give in to fans' demands. Oftentimes they apologize even if they don't have to, or give official statements when fans are asking something. So to be honest, from a marketing point of view, Starship's silence doesn't make sense at all. No business consultant, no PR department would ever recommend this to a Korean enterprise. Something is fishy about all this silent treatment. At this point, I'm asking myself if it was Starship who actually terminated the contract, or if WONHO had such a mental breakdown that he left MONSTA X and Starship Entertainment at once. If you remember his last public appearance, he showed major signs of anxiety. His letter was posted at 5 a.m., but it was photographed at 3 a.m. And not only this, but if you can read a little Hangul, you will notice how his letter is grammatically correct and actually well spoken. So it's not like he wrote this in a hurry in 5 minutes. It is more likely that he rewrote the letter multiple times, thinking about what to say and how to say it. And the content itself shows signs of destructive thinking and a severe low self-esteem. This only indicates how all his thoughts revolved around this decision. He wasn't sleeping or in a stable mental state. What if Starship is not talking publicly about WONHO's contract to not reveal that it was actually him who wanted the contract to be terminated? I mean, just imagine him walking to the company and having this talk with some important manager at Starship. Do you actually believe they wanted their golden boy out of the label? What if he was hysterical and begged the management to let him go? Would you have endured this scenario? What if they are actually trying to bring him back into the contract before they want to give an official statement? And until then, they are legally forced to keep him out of the merchandise and advertisement? Because let me talk about my sixth point. I don't see Starship being so irrational to let WONHO go so easily. Even if we want to portray Starship as devil per se, from a business point of view, this doesn't add up. We are not talking about a random trainee here. We are talking about someone who is already professionally trained in the entertainment business, who has the looks to do modeling or appear in TV shows, who could easily start an athletic career as a swimmer, bodybuilder, or martial arts fighter, who can both sing and dance, who can produce his own songs, who is able to work in a team. Basically, every company would gladly accept him. Starship would basically give away millions in profit to the competition just like that. Even if we consider the huge cultural impact I explained in my first video, it would make sense to not be part of MONSTA X at the moment, but in no way is an allegation a big enough reason to basically throw your cash cow right into the hands of another company. Do you actually believe WONHO is sitting at home crying all day? Because no, I can guarantee you he is receiving call after call from agencies that want to work with him. Especially now that the fans are continuously supporting him and even the Korean media showing him in ads, shows or music videos without editing him out. If you compare all the arguments here, you will see how the general public perception of a simple termination differs from the more likely and more complex options here. Yes, the more common idea is that Starship terminated his contract. But what if this is exactly the strategy they are going for? What if he asked for the termination and Starship is just going with the flow here? What if they are accepting the hate towards the staff and the company to hide the truth behind all of it? In my opinion, there are still too many unknown factors here to say for sure that his contract was terminated at all, or that it was actually terminated by Starship management, or that maybe his contract was being renewed at this point. Before we empathize with Starship too much, let's change our perspective and listen to all the voices claiming the company is hiding a bigger and darker issue here. It doesn't matter if you've been into K-pop for a long or short time. You all have heard of or watched Produce 101. It's a survival casting show that lives by the motto to let the national producers, meaning us viewers, vote for our favorite contestants. You can call, text or vote live on their website for the contestants that you like the most. The winners will form a K-pop group and debut with a contract to be widely promoted and release multiple albums. So it's quite a profitable deal to win this show. This is the exact reasons why so many companies are sending their trainees to take part in Produce 101. One of the companies that also participated was Starship Entertainment. Multiple trainees took part in the casting show, and actually 2 of them made it into the final group in the latest season. However, there is one interesting part about all of this that seems to be correlated to the ongoing MONSTA X scandals. Because it was only in the last weeks that the South Korean police found concrete evidence for heavy bribery on Produce 101. And 2 of the suspects who were involved in the bribery were top-level people in Starship's management. CEO Kim Shi-tae and his vice president Kim Kang-yo. Not that I would even be surprised that bribery took place on a TV production. But what made all of this even more shocking was the amount and frequency of the bribery. Apparently, the main producer of Produce 101 received gifts and services from adult entertainment establishments in Gangnam over 40 times. And all of this only in the timeline of 3 months. Oh, if you are interested in the details of this bribery scandal, just read on it. There are a lot of articles that give detailed explanations to all of this. What is interesting from a psychological point for Starship's case is that the head of the company now seems to be corrupt. I am not only talking about the bribery alone. Apparently, the vice president and a producer at Starship actually tried to get rid of the evidence for this case, and a judge even banned them from leaving the country. This is not a common thing to do in the jurisdiction in South Korea. A judge will only ban you if you show significant signs of destroying evidence or escaping from the legal consequences. Maybe now you realize the extent of this criminal act. Let's analyze what this means for the company. Here we have Starship Entertainment. This is the head of the company. This is the upper management. Those are important producers and whatnot. And here we have teachers, choreographers, travel managers, and the film crew. All the way down here we have the idols. And since we are talking about a Korean company here, it will be a top-down and patriarchal system. What this means is that not only do all employees have to listen to the public up here, this actually means that these people here are the examples of the work ethics of this company. To give you a simple example so you can follow my explanation, let me tell you that in Korea the people don't have normal work hours like we do in most Western countries. Mostly people will stay 80 or even 100 hours per week in their bureaus. And if you think they are working like robots 24/7, then you are wrong. Most of the time, people can't go home because of the simple reason that someone from an upper level is still at work. This means if the CEO stays there till 3 a.m. because he has to write important emails, all the staff under his name need to stay there till 3 a.m. to follow his lead. It would be seen as an insult if someone would dare to leave early. So because of this cultural background, the employees usually adapt the work ethics of their bosses. If we transfer this simple example to a bigger picture, you will understand why the corruption in Starship is under no circumstances only limited to the upper management. There was already one producer found guilty. If you take account the cultural impact I told you about, you can see why it is very likely that the negativity and corruption might have reached deeper levels than we can observe from the outside. What if all this bribery is not all that they were trying to hide? What if the only reason they admitted to everything so quickly was to simply get it over with, to not disclose even more? In this scenario, wouldn't a scandal revolving around your best-selling artists come in handy? Wouldn't people prefer to read on that matter than the boring legal case of the CEO who nobody knows? I don't want to drift too much into this conspiracy theory, but even if Starship is not purposely using WONHO as a cover-up to clean their CEO's name, then one cannot deny how the timing always somehow matches perfectly. To be realistic, there are multiple outcomes possible, so let's discuss a few of them. The first thing that comes to mind is that WONHO will not return to the spotlight. He will continue his life as an ordinary person and live quietly. There are multiple reasons why this could happen. For example, because he might be mentally exhausted and needs to stay away from the idol business. Or what if he feels so betrayed by his company that he never wants to sign an entertainment contract again? Also, he might not want to risk any shame on MONSTA X's reputation. All are equally valid reasons, even if we don't like any of them. If WONHO chooses to go this path, we all should accept and respect it. It is not our decision to make, and it's not our life to live. There is always the chance for a K-pop group to disband for different reasons. Although this might not be an ideal option for fans at all, it is still a possibility. For example, because the members are mentally and physically drained and tired of it all, or maybe because the mandatory military years are coming soon, so discussions about solo projects after their service are inevitable. And let's not forget, a lot of fans are boycotting MONSTA X at the moment to hurt Starship sales. But please remember that this was the exact reason why Starship disbanded their last boy group, Boyfriend. Many of you think Boyfriend was this flop boy group, but actually if you read on them, you will find out how popular they actually were and what records they broke. So don't be disillusioned to think boycotting could not lead to disbandment because MONSTA X might seem more popular than Boyfriend in your eyes. In this hypothetical scenario, MONSTA X would collectively leave Starship, take WONHO back and continue as 7 members. They could try it on their own for a while before actually starting a company on their own. This would be one of the more difficult options, but it is not impossible. At this point they have the money, the recognition and the connections to do so. Hyolyn, for example, also started her own company from scratch after leaving Starship. So why shouldn't they? There is also a possibility for him to leave Starship, join another company, but still remain a MONSTA X member for some specific concerts. But to be realistic, I don't think Starship would allow that after all this mess. We don't know what is exactly going on behind closed doors at Starship, but if it's actually the case that they threw him under the bus, then I can imagine him signing with another label, maybe even debut under another name. The reason for that is that K-pop contracts oftentimes have a clause where you basically give away your rights to use your own stage name. So it is possible for him to re-debut with his real name or with another stage name. This option would also make sense if you consider how he is a fully trained and experienced artist who seemingly loved his job and his fans. It would make sense from a psychological point of view for him to be missing his fans and to be longing for this lifestyle. And let's not forget, other companies would not lose any money on him. They would make profits from day one, especially given the circumstances that most fans completely lost faith in Starship. So the fans would go crazy and buy all the CDs and merchandise they could get their hands on. If this scenario becomes reality, then I don't see him re-debuting in another boy group. But I could imagine him starting a solo career. WONHO will be on hiatus for a long time and have a comeback as a MONSTA X member after many months. The main reason for this option that came to mind was because he needs to clear his name legally. If even one of the allegations made by Youngtown and Hansohi is true, he has to deal with it first. And such legal cases might take months to be solved. You cannot go to court whenever you are feeling like it. There are certain periods of times where you have to sit and wait for weeks or even months before the court has the time to review your case. And even after he cleared his name legally, he needs to be strategically clever about the comeback. What I would do as a PR department is arrange a dramatic and sad interview, like G-Dragon and Desang did back then after their scandals. Maybe with Jeff? He really supported MONSTA X a lot during this time. It would be a good idea to have him as the interviewer in this scenario, where WONHO would apologize to the public and show his soft side. And by doing so, he would eliminate the last doubts about his name and the path to the spotlight would be clear again. Because for those of you who are not familiar with Korean culture, there is something called reflection time, where someone who did something wrong can take a long break from their work or their lifestyle to better themselves. It is some sort of second chance in life. If Starship plays it right, this could marketing-wise be used for a turning point. MONSTA X could become ambassadors against cyberbullying, and they could use all of this to strike back even stronger, making WONHO appear like a phoenix coming back from his ashes. After considering so many circumstances, I come to the conclusion that something fishy is going on regarding WONHO's contract. Either he still is under Starship, or he terminated the contract himself and they are trying to convince him to come back. And maybe they had to terminate the contract due to company policies, but are waiting for his legal cases to be solved. I doubt that his case is this one-dimensional and made up from the start to cover some shady, evil conspiracy. By doing that, they would only shoot themselves in the foot again. This explains on why the members keep encouraging fans to support WONHO and why they are keeping him somehow in the picture. Following this idea, I also believe Starship is going with the flow and using this very unusual 1 month long silent treatment to avoid questions about WONHO before all their legal cases are solved. After all, it is their upper management and their biggest group being under investigation at the same time. If the CEO's image is damaged, they all could lose their jobs. If MONSTA X's image is damaged, the company would lose one of their major incomes. And given all the options that might be possible, I would bet on the last two options to be the most realistic ones. For WONHO to either start as a solo artist in another company, or to come back to Starship and MONSTA X after all legal cases and Starship are finally solved.